So are people done with the whole tipping culture here in the United States? Are people fed up with tipping overall? Because obviously, let's be real. Like in the United States, it's something big. It's just something that we do here in the United States. It's part of our culture, right? We go out to eat. People give us good service, and we feel the obligation to go out and tip. It's not big in like other countries. I remember going to Europe, obviously, and you don't really tip. I mean, I forgot that they didn't take tips, and I tried to offer it. They didn't really take it. However, I did when I went to Spain. When somebody cut my hair, I did give him a tip, and he took it. But usually, typically, like when you go to Europe, like in places, they just really don't. They're not expected to receive tips. But here in the United States, it's something that we do, right? And for a variety of different reasons. You could come up with a whole bunch of reasons. Maybe because obviously the companies, the businesses don't tip, don't pay well, so they a lot of these workers rely on the tips. So we feel like an obligation to tip, and that's just something that we did right here in the United States. It's just something that we did. But now it's starting to get to a point where people feel like, all right, now it's getting like, instead of doing it out of the kindness, like out of with good service, it feels like now it's an obligation that we have to tip because just because. And people are getting fed up with all the different ways that people are being force fed to leave tips. Right? It feels like they're being peer pressured to give tips, and I think a lot of people are getting tired of it because it seems like everyone is asking for tips wherever you go. Like they're asking for tips, even though usually it's not a typical thing that we did. But I think I think they're starting to get pushback from a lot of people, and they're getting fed up of just being the whole tipping culture overall here in the United States. Right, because it says in the Wall Street Journal, it was like as of November, service sector workers in non-restaurant jobs made 7% less tips than a year ago. Right, so it seems like people are frustrated. Right, people just don't want to do this anymore. Right, people are like, all right, we're done with this. Like, there's just too many ways that you're trying to get these tips, and now it feels like you're force feeding this, and people are getting to a point where like, all right, we're done. Right, because it seems like and not only that, but you see how they're doing it now, like. Obviously, when you go to a restaurant, it used to be like, all right, to get the check, they give you your receipt, you write the tip, and you never felt that pressure to do it. You write your tip, and then you go about your business. Now it's getting to a point where now wherever you go, like the machines are right in your face, and like when you're going to pay, boom, here's the tip. Do you want to leave a 10% tip, 20% tip, 18% tip, whatever it is? Or now, like you see they're coming with the point of sale. They're like, all right, you want to leave a tip, and they do it right in front of you. And you obviously, when that happens, you're gonna feel kind of some kind of way, like, all right, I should leave a tip because it's like right there in my face. I don't want to see me as a person that's cheap and that doesn't tip. So they're finding so many different ways psychologically to get to force people to peer pressure people into making to tipping more. And I think a lot of people are getting tired, right? Because it used to be that. All right, because like if you got good service, right? If the service is good, you would leave a tip, right? Now it feels like people just asking for tips just because, right? Like, yo, the pandemic, like this inflation, this economy is not doing well. I need you to leave a tip because I need this money to eat. And we can understand that, right? Inflation is high, everything costs more, and people need money. If you're in the hospitality business, you don't get paid a lot. You're gonna be trying to find ways to make more money, and obviously a lot of these people make money through tips, right? A lot of you talk to a lot of people in those business, they make a majority. Obviously, the majority of the money comes from those tips. So you can understand why that's the case. And for me personally, like when I leave tips is like if I'm getting us something to eat, a waiter, waitress, obviously I'm gonna leave a tip. If someone's serving me, like I'm definitely gonna leave a tip. Bartenders, valet, food deliveries. Even though I don't use the food deliveries like DoorDash, like if they come and bringing me food, then I try to tip. At least do that, right? If I was in Uber, I probably tip a little bit. But other than that, it's like there's just I'm just not gonna tip everything. Like if I'm gonna pick up my food, I'm not tipping, right? Like I'm not gonna do that, right? And it just seems that a lot of people are like wherever you go, like everyone is asking for tips, and people are getting tired of it. Like people don't want to be forced to do something, right? They don't want to seem like they're being forced to do it. Like if they want to leave a tip because they're like, all right, this person gave amazing service, then I'm gonna leave that person a tip, right? But if you're asking me, like, if you're trying to peer pressure me and to giving a tip, or you feel like I'm being forced to get a tip, and people are gonna get to a point where, like, you know what, I'm just not gonna tip, and that's not gonna be good for a lot of these people, especially if you the majority of your money, your income comes from tips, right? And a lot of people, they do these jobs and they don't make a lot of money base pay. So they rely on these tips. So overall, it's just not gonna be good for them. And you want people to feel like, what, I want to give a tip because you gave me good service and I felt like you did a good job. So I'm gonna give you a tip. And it's funny too because like now they're making jokes about it. Obviously, there's pushback, but there's also jokes. I wish I could show you on what you call, but I'll just like go over like break down like some of the jokes that they're doing. I think on like TikTok. So it's like a police officer holds out a tablet with different tip options after giving a speeding ticket. Right? That's just funny. Like somebody give you a speed ticket, and then the cop, I ask for a tip after they give you the speeding ticket. It would be much funnier if I actually had the video, but let's just give you a little idea. And also, someone's like pretending to ask for a tip for letting a stranger pet her dog. So obviously a lot of people are joking about this, having fun with it, but it gives you just an idea of like how people are feeling. Like it's just like, yo, you're doing too much, man. There's just too much tipping. There's just too much tipping going on. You're asking for tips. You're too aggressive with the tips. Now it feels like I'm obligated to give a tip when in reality, like I should want to give you a tip because you gave me good service, right? And what's the solution, right? Like I think a couple of solutions that they're going through is like, all right, so like people are saying businesses need to look to raising the pay of these type of workers, right? And I mean, you can make the argument either way. Like you could make the argument, yeah, they should do that. Depending on what's their budget. I mean, can they really pay these businesses, these workers? But a lot of people make the argument like, raise the pay of these workers, and so they don't have to really rely on tips. Also, then you got the government coming in. They're gonna create laws. Of course, the government got to step into these things and say, all right, we got to create a minimum wage payment for these type of workers. Would that be good or bad for the business? Who knows? That's the business. They got to figure that out. But the thing is, even if they raise these pay, right, it's still not gonna be enough, right? Like these jobs are just low skilled jobs, right? It's sad to see that, but these jobs are low skilled job, right? You just don't expect to make that much money. Like the solution is like, obviously the job isn't easy, but you got to develop some skills, right? So you can make some money. Like this isn't something that you should be doing for the rest of your life. And like I said, like I understand people are trying to make ends meet. These jobs are stressful, but like regardless if you're making your tips or regardless if they raise the minimum wage, these jobs are just low skilled jobs and they don't really pay that much. So it got to get to a point where you're like, all right, you know what, this is something I want to do long term, or do I have to develop some skills where I can do something that's going to make me even more money? So it's like all we know that people are getting tired of the whole tipping thing. Like people are just feel like it's just too aggressive. It gets to a point where obviously when you got the economy not doing well, people are going to be a little bit more tight with their wallets. For me personally, I think if you're going out to a restaurant, you're getting served by someone, then I think you should tip. It's a good thing to do. But like I said, like you shouldn't feel obligated. Like if you want to tip, that's on you. But it gets to a point where if everyone's asking for tips, it just like gets to a point where like, all right, you know what, it's not like I got that much money. I'm gonna be tight with my wallet, or I'm just not gonna leave any tip overall. So you don't want to get to a point where people are just not leaving tips for, especially these people that need the money with these jobs. So yeah, so that's all I got for you guys today. If you got any comments or questions, make sure you leave it down below. How do you guys feel about the whole tipping process? Is this something that you guys do? Like when is it a good time to leave a tip? So yeah, just leave your comments down below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe. So take care and have a good one. Later.